Good evening, everybody. This is Axiom Flux News. Tonight it's me, Paul Bridger, Blackhole Bridger, and today I have with me Wendy HIRST, a staunch supporter of Melanie Shaw. But firstly, I would like to give you a call to arms protest notice in solidarity with abuse victims. There are 4 different venues, all on next Saturday. That's Saturday, the 11th of April. The first venue is in Parliament Square, that starts at 11 o'clock in London. The second venue starts at 12 noon, yet again next Saturday, the 11th of April, at Holyrood Park in Edinburgh. The third venue starts at 11 AM on Saturday, that's next Saturday the 11th of April, at Liverpool Museum, and it then proceeds to march down to Albert Docks, Liverpool. And the last venue starts at 10 AM on Saturday, that's next Saturday, the 11th of April, at the Town Hall in Manchester. The addresses are up on screen, so if you want to get your pen and paper so you're certain you've got the right venue to go to. Also, I would like to ask people if they can find it in their heart to support Melanie Shaw and write a letter to her. And her address, I will read it out this time, but it will be put up on the screen so you can get the full address and the prison number. But it's Melanie Shaw. Her prison number is A412 6DE. Peterborough Prison, Savile Road, Peterborough. The postcode is PE3 7PD. Yesterday, on Sunday, there was a vigil held for Melanie Shaw, and it started off at Cathedral Square at midday. After holding the rally there for a while, it then proceeded down to Baker's Park, next to the prison complex of SODEXO's private prison, which is supposed to be Her Majesty's prison. So I have here today to talk to and lead us through the events of the day, and to lead us into the background of what's gone on with Melanie, as she's more adverse into this than what I know. So welcome, Wendy HIRST. Thank you for coming along.
Hello everybody, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad to tell people about Melanie's story as much as I know about it. I first came across Melanie through the UK column last year, beginning of July. I later found out that Melanie had been abused since the age of 4 years old, sexually and physically. She went into foster care, was abused in foster care. She was moved then to the Beechwood Children's Home and abused there. She finally ran away, got into a lot of trouble, ended up on the streets, and the story goes on from there. She was on drugs, alcohol. Eventually she met a man, and her life became a lot more rosy. She had children, she settled down. And finally, a couple of years back, she got up the courage to go to the police and report a story, and Operation Daybreak was born. Melanie thought the police seemed to believe her. Once again, this is Melanie trusting the wrong people. After a while, she started getting problems with the police. She was in contact with UK column, and on Wednesday, the 9th of July, she texted Brian Geddes at the column. She was frightened, the police were scaring her. If she disappeared, she'd be in jail. Brian picked the message up about 15 minutes after it was sent, tried to call her, no answer. So then he tried a few times. He put a message on Facebook, everybody ring Nottingham police, we can't find Melanie Shaw. People did. It was on the news on the Thursday. The following Monday...
Can I put in here, Wendy? Am I correct in saying that the UK column contacted the police station where Melanie was being held when he found out where she was? Am I correct in saying...
Where she was, we just rang the local police on 101. He had people to ring.
Yeah.
He rang the local police on 101 and got through to the nearest police station to Melanie's home in Sherwood.
Yeah, and it was reported by the UK. Yeah, it was reported by the UK column that they wasn't allowed to give out any information on her due to the Information Protection Act data. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Well, we've also found out that there was a vote in Parliament. Yeah, and it was a vote held. And that there was an MP. Sorry, I've lost the details here. Got myself in a bit of a muddle here. But it was, I believe it was a Mr. Hancock that was a Suffolk MP, and he was asked how can he justify on the vote of the block of the Official Secrets Act, and we have a video here which is going to be shown, so we're going to show this video now and we'll get directly back to you, Wendy, if that's okay.
Lovely. I'll listen to you in a little while.
Thank you. Okay.
We may follow him down there as well. Who knows if we don't get the answer here.
So, to me, that
you know what the point is? You've got the challenge. Hello. Hello. All right. I've spoken to you a few times before. We had a discussion over at the school in regards to Ixworth Primary. You opened that, do you remember? About the racist vans that the Conservatives are having. What I wanted to talk to you about today, though, was you've blocked me on Twitter, you've stopped me from contacting you via Facebook. My reason was, why did you vote to protect historic child abusers?
No, I didn't.
You did? It says it quite clearly here. The Official Secrets Act, Defence of Disclosure of Historic Child Abuse. Now what that amendment was to allow people who were previously under the Official Secrets Act to come forward without threat of being prosecuted or breaking the law. Is that right?
Well, look, I should take...
It's a simple question. What the amendment would have done was allow people who are in trouble through child abuse or who knew about official MPs involved in child abuse, would have given them the opportunity to come forward without fear of prosecution under the Official Secrets Act.
Yeah.
And the Official Secrets Act is being used at the moment as a tool to prevent these people being prosecuted. And you know, I've written to you, I've done everything.
I'm afraid the Official Secrets Act is not a reason why anybody can't come forward. The authorities have been incredibly clear about that. And hold on, and the Home Secretary's been very clear about that. The amendment,
have no definite answers.
I've heard the definite answers myself, and the amendment itself, the amendment in question wouldn't have had that effect.
So what was the amendment for?
And so the amendment wouldn't have worked in the way that those supporting the amendment wants it to work. And look, child sex abuse is an incredibly serious offence, and we are doing everything necessary to uncover it.
I spoke to you about Leon Britton, and I told you about Leon Britton, and you stood up in Parliament after Jim Hook made his statement about Leon Britton being involved during the miners' strike and why the miners weren't interested in following anything that was coming out of government or Whitehall. And you stood up and you defended Leon Britton, and yet now he is under investigation for historic child abuse.
Well, he's died actually. So, and what I said then was that the accusations that were made were disgusting. You look at my
and you compared it to Jimmy Savile accusations, but you also said that it was Jim Hook had his priorities wrong. He said we were in
a debate about something completely different, and so anyway, so I've made, as I said, all of these things need to be investigated properly and fully.
But you're not doing anything to stand up. You haven't stood up. I've asked you. I've said to you about Tom Watson standing up with a number of MPs to stand up and say, look, this is not acceptable. We cannot have people in government being protected for heinous crimes like child abuse, and that is what's happened.
And they're not.
They
and
have
I
been,
would
with Cyril Smith, Leon Britton.
I'm really sorry. These things are historic. They are now being investigated.
And you think it's still not going on now?
Of course, we are tackling these things, and we've investigated them before.
How many days has the child abuse inquiry been waiting to get going?
Well, you know why? Because we've got to make sure that everybody is on side with who's on that inquiry.
No, because you've repeatedly selected people that are unsuitable for the job in order to delay the investigation till it goes past the election, so that you lot can sit pretty until after the election, then all hell can break loose. You are mugging everybody off, and you're doing a disservice to the survivors.
No.
You have a responsibility as an MP to look after the people, not just these people,
I have a
responsibility.
Don't just shout at me.
I'm not shouting
Yes,
at you.
you are. I have a responsibility to make sure that very serious issues in the past are dealt with properly, accurately and fairly, and that is exactly what we're doing. And making sure we get the right people in the inquiry is vital, and taking the victims groups with us is important, and making sure that all of these things are looked at is the right thing to do.
So what sort of a message did you think it sent?
Thank you very much.
No, what sort of a message did you think it sent to survivors when you blocked a bill that would have offered the police and the security services protection for giving witness statements?
No such bill was blocked.
It says here, it's an amendment. The Official Secrets Act, disclosure of historic child abuse inquiry. I won't go in.
As you can see there, the MP for West Suffolk, Matt Hancock, has walked away, not fully talked this out with the questioner about the voting to block the Official Secrets Act, which means the police now cannot speak out, and it means that these paedophiles can get away with it because they are still being covered. They are still being protected. And it's the same with the Data Protection Act. It's being used as a cover so they don't have to say what they are actually doing to Melanie Shaw in prison. Have you got anything more to say on that, Wendy, about what is actually happening to Melanie while she's in prison?
Well, I do know she's getting a lot of abuse. She claims she's getting abuse from prison officers. Now, I got abuse from a prison officer yesterday, first point of contact to a member of the public, and I was verbally abused. So I fully believe that Melanie is being abused in jail by some of these officers, not all of them, but some of them.
Yeah, and it's not just the fact she's being abused. She doesn't seem to be getting things that people are sending to her, like Manuka honey that was sent to her to be able to use for medically on her, also on her poor leg. She didn't even receive.
That is actually a Home Office rule from all prisons, UK prisons, HMP. Nothing can be sent in. Foodstuffs can have been tampered with, even if they're in a sealed jar.
Yeah, but it isn't the official department.
Provided the money for the Manuka honey sending back, which she never received back.
But it isn't surely the official act to be able to not give her the medication she requires while she's there.
But again, they claim that they get all the same medication as they would at the National Health Service. Look, I have it from a locum GP in Peterborough who I visited as on my own because I needed to see him, and I actually asked him about this, and he did tell me that SODEXO cannot keep the medical staff because nobody wants to work for them. And when a family member of mine was in Peterborough jail, he did actually inform me that they had no regular doctor. There's just a nurse there.
And I think it's absolutely atrocious that she was having to use J-cloths for bandages. So it seems to me as though they can't not just hold the medication that's required for the prisoner's well-being, they still haven't got bandages for any kind of accidents or mishaps.
No, it seems private prisons must be much worse than British prisons. You know, I just don't know what to call them, because to me, a prison is a prison. But now we've got the old prisons we all knew about, HMPs, but now there's new private prisons. Well, we all know private is run for profit.
Yeah.
So how can you make a profit if you're going to provide patients, inmates, with medical things that they need? You're going to have to spend the money the government gives you, therefore you won't make a profit. So, we won't give it to them then.
Yeah. The Vigil wasn't all doom and gloom yesterday, though, was it? There was a bit of a laugh when it was being shouted over the bullhorn, is Melanie okay? And we was getting a response from an inmate. And we also asked, is she receiving her letters? And we asked whether she's receiving her medication, and the reply came back, yes, she's getting everybody else's medication. So there was a bit of lightness during it, wasn't it?
There was a lot of lightness, and there was, with all the people that was actually attending, we did actually have fun when we were doing this speech in Cathedral Square, and there was a lot of fun. The sad bit was when we actually went round the side of the prison to the area near the car sales area that the gentleman very kindly let us use his property, as he did last time, to shout to Melanie in the hope she will hear us, which is, like you say, we found out then she'd been in solitary confinement for 3 weeks. We still don't know whether she's getting the mail. Mickey and I went into the prison, and after getting abused by this nasty little person, finally 2 governors came flying across, and the nasty little person disappeared. And the governors would not tell us, again, data protection, as to whether Melanie got mail or not. I suggested she wasn't getting it, and the governor said, it is not our policy to withhold mail. So I said, what if you get orders from above? He said, well, that would be the Home Office. So I replied, well, would it be the Home Office? You are a private prison, and you may get instructions from somebody else. Not stipulating who somebody else could be, but meaning somebody that's wanting to punish Melanie. It's okay to have things done in a private prison.
Yeah. Yeah. But going back to what they're receiving in the way of the medication and medical treatment, etc., and her mail, she did manage to get a letter to the UK column, which she disgustingly torn up.
Yes, that was the one from Chris, her MP.
That's right, yeah. Is it Chris Ellis?
I think that's his name, yes.
Yeah, because basically the letter stated for her to contact her solicitor, who she had recently sacked, by the way, because they had been, it was VHS Fletcher's group, and they was putting forward clerks as solicitors to act on her behalf. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That was last year in the first court case.
Yeah, so she sacked them. And during the last court case that she had to be in, the judge more or less threatened her that if she did not go along with having VHS Fletchers to represent her, I'm just paraphrasing this, so it's not exact word for word, that he would deem her to be incompetent. So he is threatening her that she's got to have these solicitors to represent her. So basically he is perverting the cause of justice by not allowing her to choose who she wishes to represent her by herself, yes? And is, in a way, he's given a contract to that solicitors for work.
Well, he is the same solicitor who, she did try to get rid of before. I was at the hearing on the 27th of July with Willem. We was actually at that hearing, and twice the judge tried to get her to have this Mr. Bennett from the H Fletchers. She refused to sign. It was about 2 weeks after she had another court hearing that nobody knew about. He said that.
This is absolutely disgusting. She's been forced into situations, and because she's refusing, she's being threatened that she's going to be deemed incompetent. So they can now use for that incompetence law to section her under a Mental Health Act. Could we have that letter back up a moment, my friend? I would like to read the letter to the people that was sent to Brian Gerrish for him to let people know that's going on. And as I say, it was from Chris Leslie, and this was the MP for Nottingham East. This was her MP basically doing a Pontius Pilate on her and washing his hands. Oh, we'd pass you on to somebody else, yeah? Somebody else that she didn't want representing him. And the letter states, "Dear Melanie, thank you for writing to me. It was very thoughtful. Please let me know if you are okay and are being treated well and getting any medical attention you need. If you need my help with anything, it might be as well for you to let your solicitor know so that they can also contact me direct if necessary." Now, if that is not an act of Pontius Pilate, I don't know what isn't.
Yes, he's got a fistful of gold for that one.
Yeah, good.
Because a lot of the people that abuse Melanie, this is my personal thoughts, and the thoughts of a lot of people, because a lot of the people that actually abused Melanie 30 odd years ago have now risen up to the top of their ladders.
Yeah.
They are the ones that are still alive. They're just having to keep her quiet.
Yeah, they're in prominent positions, and I personally
now, and they've got money.
Yeah, and they can kind of direct what needs to be done to Melanie, and they're trying to keep her quiet, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
They could bring a writ of habeas corpus out for what the judge said at the last court case in the November one, when they directed the jury that there was no such thing as Operation Daybreak.
Yeah.
We could bring a habeas corpus for that. But we need to get in contact with Melanie.
Yeah.
Her signature.
Yeah, I mean, and that is another thing. The judge has directed the jury totally wrongfully, saying that there is no such thing as Operation Daybreak. Yet there was a letter sent from the police media, yeah, and it was sent saying that Nick Tappin is no longer the head of Operation Daybreak. So how can this judge direct the jury that Operation Daybreak is a figment of, I'm paraphrasing yet again, a pigment of Melanie's delusions, and it's a conspiracy? I mean,
yeah, it's all covered up. I don't think that this Judge Hurt realised how loud some of the people in the courts can get. Not verbally loud, but loud with what we can do when we start making a noise like we are doing now. So, you know, also literally keeping Melanie hidden so nobody can get that signature off her to go forwards and let her all hell loose.
Yeah.
We've got to stop them.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting. We're showing a picture at the moment, Wendy, of Melanie before she went into SODEXO prison, and then a photo of her 3 months after. Look how much they have degraded this poor lady.
Well, when I was in court for her bail hearing, we had a picture of Melanie. Willem and I had a picture of Melanie, and he was hanging it over the seats in the court, and this was just a bail hearing, there was no jury or anything. Now the QC that did the bail hearing, after Melanie had left, he sort of said you can't have any of these T-shirts, because we had our MEL'S T-shirts on, or UK columns, or pictures hanging over the seats, because you might direct the judge. And then the clerk of the court had looked at Melanie, and he said, "Cool," he said, "how long ago was that picture taken?" We said, "just before she went in jail." And the clerk of the court was shocked. And if this QC had done Melanie's case, things would have been a great deal different.
Yeah, I mean, poor Melanie. Nothing against her, obviously, but she looks so haggard. My mother is 80 years old, and she don't look that haggard.
Yeah.
And before she went in,
when she was in Plymouth on a bail, for the 6 weeks she was down, well, it was a bit longer, from when she was first bailed to a hearing, and then the 6 weeks, so I think it was about 2.5 months, she did very much improve, and by the time she was in court for her actual sentencing, she was looking like she did originally. and she was happy. I was in the pub, Will and I was in the pub with her after she'd been sentenced. She was happy and jolly and having a laugh and looked like she did originally. Yet when I took my head round the corner of the court the other week, she was looking almost as bad as she was in the first place.
I really do believe they are purposely trying to send her mentally insane with the treatment and foisting upon her and all the pressures they're putting her under.
Well, yes, because that is the only way they can stop her from giving evidence, is to make her incapable of giving evidence by killing her.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've got to be her evidence. We've got to get out there, we've got to shout it from the rooftops.
But what did amaze me on the Vigil while we was in the Cathedral Square in Peterborough, the amount of people that was just walking by, and there was people with the little tiny children, and they weren't paying no attention. That could be their children that could be attacked by a paedophile, and they're not bothering in protecting them.
Yeah, I was surprised how many people, when we actually went up to people, we tried to stay away from people with young children that was old enough to understand what we were saying, but kids in pushchairs, we was handing leaflets out. And if they asked what it was about, we tried to stay as gently as we could. And a lot of the children were being put into care for nothing, you know, just because maybe they rang up and asked how much the gas bill was. And this is happening.
Yeah.
When these children have been abused.
Yeah, and these poor children are getting put into these care homes, and then they're being judged later on in their life because they was in a care home and it weren't their fault they was in there in the first place.
Precisely, yes.
And
it's always very much been the system, you know, kids come out of care homes, so at the bottom they eat for everything.
And another thing is, Wendy, the fact is, people say, well, why didn't they speak out sooner? Well, if they've not been in that position, they don't understand. And they still don't understand how much it mentally scars their psyche for the rest of their life. As you say, Melanie was on medication right from leaving the care homes just to keep her on a decent balance. As you said, she had drug problems and that. Well, that was because...
We don't like calling them victims, Paul.
No, they're survivors. They are survivors, yes.
They are survivors, but a great many of these survivors do have either drug, alcohol, or other similar type of problems.
And that is no wonder with the horrific stuff they've been put through, all the attacks on them, whether it be physical, mental, sexually, and it's permanent, and it's every day while they're in there.
Yes.
And even if they're not getting attacked on a permanent daily basis, their mental state is, am I going to be attacked today? And they hide within their own minds. And then a lot of them end up with multiple personal disorders, personalities. And that's because their minds are being fractured. Every time they get abused, they go within themselves and their minds fracture. And they build up a personality so they can say, oh, it's happening to Melanie and I'm Jana, so I'm okay. And this is their way of it's a coping method. And people don't understand this.
They're then open to actual mind control.
Exactly, yes. Actually, MK Ultra used it as a mind control technique.
Well, this is well known in, I don't know if you know the Kathy O'Brien story.
Yes, transformation, yes.
Yes, but it's all that type of thing. But they find out that so many of these paedophiles come from families of paedophiles or families that were survivors of paedophiles. And it's again all down to this fragmentation and this compartmentalising. Oh, I can't think of the word correctly.
Yeah, it's fracturing the brain, and each fracture is called an altar.
Yes.
And then the people that are trying to control them can put some kind of control on an altar, and all they have to do is use a trigger word, and they can say that trigger word at any stage in the future, and they will instantly switch back to that altar.
Yes.
Or whatever that personality is at that moment in time.
Yes. dark, dastardly things going on in this world. But now it's getting more and more.
Yeah. And this is why it must be stamped on, and this is why it must be really impressed upon people and urged upon people to get out there. Even if it's not for their own children's sake, it might be for their grandchildren's sake, because it's only going to get worse and worse if people don't stand up now and stop it.
Well, yesterday I was handing leaflets out, and a young man asked me what it was all about, so I explained it about social services as well, you know, taking children when the parents ask for help. They said, that happened to me when I was 7. My mother asked for help from social services, they were put into foster care, and I carefully questioned him, and he's another survivor. 19 years old, he's back with his mother now, but I took his details, which I'm obviously going to repeat. And every time we have an event anywhere now, Nottingham, wherever, people are coming forward, so we're bumping into them, you know, somehow we're drawn together. General members of the public don't want to believe it, so they ignore it and scurry away and go home and watch EastEnders.
Or it's too dark for them to cope with. Well, they've got to grow up. Don't matter how dark it is, they've got to grow up and face it, because the only way it's going to be dealt with is to grow up, face it, and get against it. Everybody get against it together, because as I say, if it's not directly their own children, it more than likely will be their grandchildren, because it's becoming so evasive now. It's becoming so prevalent in our society that everybody just can't stand back and say, oh no, I don't want to hear about that. I don't want to hear about that. That's not good enough. Grow up.
I argue with my neighbours about this all the time. Oh, you don't tell me that thing. And I get a bit aggressive sometimes and say, well, don't come running to me when you lose your grandchild. Yeah,
I'm afraid they need to grow a pair of cojones, a lot of them, you know, and I don't care what they call me for having a go, but they must. If they really love their children, as they more than likely tell people they love their children, they'll be up off their backsides and being supporting this with full force, absolute full force.
Yes, a lot of them are scared. But on about MPs, I'm attending a HIRST things in a couple of weeks with the Peterborough MP, Mr. Stuart Jackson. So I have actually written to Stuart Jackson last year about Melanie's case, but it was typical, not his constituency. And I did say that Peterborough Prison is your constituency.
Yeah, but they can't.
Treatment, but I got a letter back from his secretary or PA or underling.
Yeah, can I just get this?
So I will actually.
But can I just get this across to people also, Wendy, that when an MP comes out with, sorry, you're not part of my constituency, that is a load of rubbish. They have to act. It's just a gentleman's agreement between themselves that they will deal with their own constituencies. No, an MP, whether you're from down south and is an MP from up north, they still should act, whether you're in their constituency or not. So don't put up with their baloney saying I cannot act on your behalf, you're not part of my constituents and you're not a constituent of mine. That is not good enough, and we're not going to wear it no more. This is how they've got away with so much. So, sorry I butted in to put that over. I nearly called you Melanie. I've got Melanie so much going through my head, the poor lady. But Wendy, I would like to...
told me, when I was speaking to her on the telephone, she actually says she hates being called Melanie because that's what her paedophile mother called her.
Oh,
so she doesn't prefer to be called
Mel. Yeah.
Well, calling her Melanie.
Yeah, well, as say, people will know her as Melanie. Yeah, but I'd like to thank you very much, Wendy, and thank you so much for joining us here at the Axiom Flux News, and thank you so much for saying you're going to find out more for us, and you will be back with us in future for future times. Yes.
Yes, I will do that, and I will keep in touch with you and PJ anyway, Paul.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you, Wendy, and I'm just going to read out this call to arms again for people so they can actually get off their backsides, no matter what's on that box in the corner of their room. Get off your backsides and attend one of these events in their area or close to. So, thank you very, very much, Wendy, and much love to you, sweet pea. Take care of yourself.
Thank you very much for having me, Paul, and goodbye.
Most welcome. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, thank you, people, for listening in, but I would like to read out again to you the call to arms and the different venues around the country. And they're all happening next Saturday, different times at different venues. So the first venue I'll read out will be in Parliament Square, London, that starts at 11 AM. The next venue will be Holyrood Park, Edinburgh. That is 12 noon next Saturday. And the next venue I'm going to read out will be at the Liverpool Museum that starts at 11 AM on Saturday. And that will proceed in a march down to the Albert Docks in Liverpool. And the last venue for your area is in Manchester, and that starts a little bit earlier at 10 AM, and that is also this coming Saturday at the Manchester Town Hall. So please, 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 it's most important for you, your children and your children's children to get off your backsides, no matter what else you have planned. It can go to the wayside till we get this sorted out. It can get, all the other things can be sorted at a later date, but this has got to be sorted out because it's going to fester. It's going to fester and it's going to grow like a cancer, and it's growing so fast and it's so prevalent. So please excuse my rant, but I do get uptight about this because people just do not understand the poor survivors or even the victims that are still getting it at the moment. So please excuse my rant, but please, please, do something positive. Be proactive on this one. We're not protesters, we're protectors. Okay, thank you very much, and I will say good night, and do join Axiom Flux News again soon, and we will bring you up to date. And if it's not me, myself, it'll be one of the Axiom Curb members that will bring you up to date. So thank you, good night, and remember, love everybody.